Welcome to Chapter 5 of The Lens of the Rock. A few days ago, the messenger returned with news from Glovertmute Fort. The host of the Rock will remain there, safeguarding their safety. They have enough supplies and defenses to withstand prolonged sieges. Inside the fortress, the soldiers spend even their free time training, constantly seeking to improve their skills and prepare, when suddenly screams from outside break through the corridors. A huge number of migrants arrive from the north. The war between the goblins of the Horror of Guilt and the dwarves of the mountains has come to an end. Many refugees, driven by a thirst for revenge, have heard of the last defenders of the Lens and decide to ask for refuge, willing to help in the war in any way possible. However, an army of goblins is in close pursuit. The mayor had already given the order to prepare the mountain gorge to annihilate the goblin army, but he learns that in the midst of the enemy ranks there is a traitor, a dwarf named Starsost, who has joined the goblins of the Horror of Guilt. The mayoress cannot believe it, and full of rage, she calls her husband, the captain of the guard, to gather all the soldiers. No one was going to take away the pleasure of killing the traitor in combat. The valley resounds with war drums and defiant cries in a silent forest as the two armies face each other on the hilltop. The tension in the air is palpable, as if the fate of both towns were about to be decided in that very place. The mayoress takes command with her husband Kogan, the captain of the guard. In unison, they raise their weapons, and with a charging cry, they charge into the goblin horde. The dwarves advance with their iron shields raised to protect themselves from the bolts and arrows that come from the enemy rear. The crash of the charge is brutal, the impact of axes and swords echoing through the air. The dwarves fight bravely, facing the goblins with unmatched ferocity. War cries and roars fill the air, mingling with the clang of weapons and the crunch of bones. From the rear, several dwarf crossbowmen fire accurate shots, seeking to weaken the enemy and clear the way for their companions. However, on the left flank, a poorly positioned dwarf crossbowman is struck by a sword-wielding goblin. Both enemies engage in a duel to the death, fighting fiercely while their comrades continue the battle amidst the chaos. Meanwhile, the traitorous dwarf, a wretch among his own kind, hides just below the cut in the hill, watching the battle with wicked eyes, a treacherous rat willing to kill his own for his greed. In the center of the battlefield, the dwarves are holding their ground, but the hail of enemy bolts is beginning to take their toll. It is then that the traitor sees a possible victory and decides to charge on the right flank, looking to unleash chaos in the dwarven ranks. The mayoress and two more soldiers, upon noticing, enter a state of warrior frenzy. A martial trance envelops them, boosting their strength and speed. They focus all their anger and strength on the dwarf traitor, putting aside the bolts that keep coming. On the left flank, two soldiers manage to come to the rescue of the poorly positioned crossbowman. They fight fiercely, defending their partner and taking down the goblin. Finally, the traitor falls dead at the mayor's feet, and the dwarves use the momentum of their victory to clear out the few remaining goblin crossbowmen. The battlefield slowly calms down, the echoes of the melee fading through the trees. Moses, a brave soldier of the Pink Trumpets, irretrievably succumbs to his wounds amid a sea of goblin bodies. In the center of the squad, he fought like a beast, holding out until several bolts hit him. Two of them ricocheted off his helmet and bib, but an accurate one made its way between them, impacting his neck and severely damaging the nerves in his spine, causing bleeding. Just before he drops his shield and silver hammer and falls to the ground, a goblin punches him in the head, further twisting his neck and aggravating the soldier's injuries. Moses's last thought was, "I'm really panicking." The crossbowman, also wounded, lies on the ground, unable to get up, unconscious. Immediately, the chief medical officer, Zon Lilaba, arrives to transfer him to the hospital. It presents a fully open knee. Rigos proceeds to suture the wound and is quickly provided with crutches for support. Time will tell if he will make a full recovery or if he will be crippled, which could prevent him from continuing his duties as a soldier. Shortly after, an emotional farewell was held at the mausoleum in honor of Moses. Seabrek, the captain of his squadron, approached the coffin with his iron whip in hand and spoke some kind words in honor of his fallen comrade. The room was filled with silence as the parting words echoed through the air, leaving a deep feeling of respect and gratitude towards Moses and his bravery. Among the many colonists who have arrived at the fortress, some truly interesting and talented characters stand out. Among them are Ushria, the skilled and passionate scribe who masters the art of putting words on paper with elegance and precision, and Robod, a soap maker whose skills and knowledge in creating hygiene products are widely recognized. As the settler community grows, the number of inhabitants rises to 173 citizens, a figure that exceeds the current available accommodation capacity in the fortress. However, aware of the importance of promoting culture and knowledge, the decision was quickly made to build a library that would become the intellectual heart of the community as well as a soap industry. In addition, migrants have brought with them a variety of animals that need spaces to graze and feed. Fortunately, thanks to the tree farm, they can provide a safe and suitable place for them to graze inside the fortress. This ingenious system allows them to keep the animals close, avoiding the risks of life outside and guaranteeing their well-being and the availability of food for them, thus contributing to the sustainability of the community. Quickly, the library takes shape and is completed. It is in this sacred place of knowledge that the brightest minds of the fortress congregate. Two individuals in particular stand out: Zutan, a learned astronomer whose mastery of the stars is simply impressive, and Momuz, a keen observer. Together, they will debate and discuss a wide variety of topics, from the laws of physics to the intricacies of philosophy, and they will translate their discoveries and reflections into books that will enrich the library's collection. It is Ushria, the scribe, who is in charge of meticulously copying the codices so that they can be sold and spread throughout the world, taking the knowledge of the fortress to faraway places. However, the creation of books requires paper and other utensils. This is where the printing industry comes into play, beginning with the cultivation of the showy pigtail plants. Resembling herbs with thin, flexible stems, these plants possess a distinctive feature: small, pigtail-shaped spikes. Domas, skilled and hard-working, is dedicated to taking them to the manual mill, where they become a sticky and malleable paste. Once the paste is obtained, it is transferred to the press, where it is shaped and compressed to obtain sheets of paper, the precious support of wisdom. These carefully crafted sheets of paper are then transported to another station where they are assembled and folded to create the pliegos, sets of sheets of paper arranged in order for writing. It is in these sheets where the scholars of the fortress captured their discoveries, theories, and deepest thoughts. Once written, the sheets will be brought back to be bound with covers of iron, which have been specially commissioned by the mayoress to guarantee the durability and protection of the valuable works. Moses, who has decided to be apprenticed to Zutan, is immersed in a fascinating learning process. Right now, he's getting a lesson on the phases of the moon and delving into the heliocentric model, a revolutionary theory that challenges traditional beliefs about the universe. On the other hand, the soap industry also has its own intriguing secrets and processes. It all starts on the farm and in the butcher shop of the fortress, where the butchering of the animals takes place. From the fatty remains, the fat is processed to obtain tallow, an essential ingredient in soap making. Additionally, 2 additional workstations are required to complete the process. The abundant ash from the old coal furnace is treated at the new chemical station by the famous Broca Ushat, the first to arrive at the fortress, who transforms it into lye, a vital component for soap making. Then, the expert soap maker joins the team, using lye and animal tallow to create the first bars of soap, which acquire hygienic and aromatic properties. In the fortress, this valuable product is mainly used in the hospital, since dwarves, due to their nature, are usually not very friendly with water. Returning to the library, Momuz has written his first book, titled Interpretations of Topography, a work that encompasses a complete manual on the process of measuring and mapping the land. Curious that after learning that the world is not flat, he writes about topography. Packed with precise knowledge and techniques, this treatise is a treasure trove for those interested in exploring and understanding the shape of the world around them. Mebzuth, a skilled bookbinder, is in charge of moving the newly written book to give it the final touch and protect it with a suitable binding. Soon after, we find Libash, one of the passionate lovers of reading, immersed in the library, devouring each page of the book with avidity and delight, nourishing his mind with the teachings and knowledge contained within its pages. The library has become an intellectual haven where wisdom is shared and perpetuated for generations to come. The merchant Ast has once again returned to conduct his trade, unloading a variety of goods in the locality. Among the many things that have been purchased stands out an impressive piano duchim made of wood from a goblin cap tree, a species that grows in the most remote depths. The peculiarity of its color makes this piano shine with a special shine in the tavern, attracting the attention of everyone present. But what really makes this instrument stand out is its keyboard, crafted from an exquisite combination of rutile and horsebone. The duchim has an impressive sonic extension, spanning a range of 6.5 octaves. From extremely low tones to extremely high notes, this piano has the ability to explore the extremes of the musical spectrum. Each key pressed awakens a deep and expressive resonance. Its dark, evocative timbre adds a dimension of mystery and depth to each piece played, and in the skillful hands, a symphony of emotions can be unleashed and take listeners on a captivating sonic journey. Amidst the quiet, the guard dogs at the entrance begin to bark furiously, alerting everyone to a possible imminent threat. A cunning goblin raider has attempted to infiltrate the domain, but his attempt is quickly thwarted by the brave and determined action of Seabrek and a companion. With a well-aimed lash of iron, Seabrek strikes the goblin in the foot, sending him tumbling desperately to the ground. Seizing the opportunity, Seabrek delivers a second lash to the goblin's head with relentless force, cracking its brittle skull on impact. The resounding sound of the whip mingles with the crunch of bones, marking the end of abrupt combat. Finally, another of Seabrek's companions ends the confrontation with a well-aimed hack, making sure the goblin reaver poses no further danger. The fortress, again wrapped in a cloak of tranquility, does not take long to be shaken by a din that reverberates from outside. A deep, thunderous cry rises through the air, heralding the arrival of Giganta Anova Alotha. This creature, of enormous proportions and with a human appearance, stands as a being practically unmatched in size. His imposing and colossal figure casts a shadow over everything in his path. The walls of the fortress seem to rumble, and the hearts of those who behold it fill with fear and wonder. Faced with the imminent threat, the inhabitants of the fortress rush to defensive measures and decide to activate the mountain gorge. Without mercy, he pounces on the watchdog, ending his life in an instant. The dwarves, aware of the gravity of the situation, cling to their last hope, block the door with the lower lever and drown the creature. The other dog, agile and rabid, bravely confronts the giantess. With accurate bites, the canine manages to injure it multiple times, skillfully dodging the creature's attempts to catch it. One such bite, aimed at the giantess's belly, does significant damage. The creature appears weak and sick, but still retains its ferocity. Despite the dog's best efforts, doom looms over him. Anova's giant leg is brought down on his small body, choking him. A cry full of helplessness is heard in the fortress. The deafening roar rumbles through the air, and the sound of water rapidly filling the hall shakes the foundations of the mountain. The giantess fights against the current, resisting with her impressive weight and strength. However, the force of the water is relentless, and the end becomes uninhabitable for Anova, meeting her tragic fate in the narrow corridor, succumbing to the power of the dwarves. After the corridor is cleared of water, a dwarf is in charge of carefully moving the limp body of gigantic Anova towards the hole in the floor. With a heavy crash, his gigantic body falls into the void, finally crashing against the solid iron hatch. In a fascinating act of synchronization, the hatch opens and closes at the exact time, depositing the body in the mysterious lagoon that lies in the depths of the cavern, inhabited by unknown and fearsome creatures, which receives the immense body of gigantic Anova as an offering to feed those beings that lurk in the shadows. After some time, the mausoleum dedicated to the brave dogs stands as a testament in honor of their extraordinary fight against the giantess. The The dwarves, with great dedication and respect, have built this monument in recognition of the bravery and loyalty of the dogs that faced the colossal creature. The mausoleum stands tall, with majestic statues of the guard dogs carved in stone, capturing their indomitable spirit and ferocity. A symbol of inspiration and courage, reminding everyone that even in the face of the most daunting challenges, strength and loyalty can prevail. A week later, the news of the disappearance of Vuka Amudrisan, the pet duck of a citizen of the fortress, spreads among the inhabitants, causing concern. The community suspects that the lone goblin who tried to break in earlier did not act alone and took advantage of an oversight to steal the beloved animal. Investigations reveal that the goblin may have entered through the hatch on the peninsula, normally inaccessible due to the cliffs that protect it. However, a strong tree has grown out of the ravine wall, providing access from the outside by climbing over it. Faced with this situation, an urgent order is issued to cut down the tree and secure the rear of the fortress. With the tree felled, the fortress feels more secure but remains alert, aware of the importance of security in their lives and in the protection of their loved ones. The search for Vukar will continue, fueled by the hope that the duck will return safely. A group of believers from the Persuasive Communion seek to strengthen their ties to the gods and have decided to take action. His first request is to urge the mayor to improve the state of the temple, which currently does not meet the expectations of the faithful. Furthermore, they want to propose Domas Dodoksalul as the new high priest, as they believe his leadership and knowledge could revitalize the community. While the dwarves are busy beautifying and improving the temple, it is surprising to discover a growing collection of written books in the library. One of them, titled The Story of Your Own Story, written by Zutan, addresses the art of writing a personal biography, especially focused on military campaigns or adventures. This particular book is distinguished by its touch of melancholy, which makes it all the more intriguing. Another attention-grabbing title is Observation and the Troubles Ahead, a manual that explores empirical observation methods in astronomy. Its author, Zutan, has embodied in these pages her deep knowledge of the subject, offering valuable tools to those interested in the study of the universe. The other two books, written by Momus, are Rare Animal Diseases and Mastering the Lunar Phases. These texts are currently in the binding process and will be copied by the skilled scribe, thus ensuring that they can be shared and disseminated throughout the world. The temple has undergone an amazing transformation without the need for great efforts. In an act of generosity, the citizens have decided to donate to their religious community the legendary Estrith Tangak mace, famous for having been made by a possessed child just a few years ago. This sacred object now rests behind solid bars, on display like a powerful relic at the heart of the temple. In addition, Domus Dodoksalul has been appointed high priest. His deep knowledge and commitment to the faith make him the perfect choice to guide believers on their spiritual quest. With this invaluable donation and the appointment of Domus as supreme religious leader, the believers of the Persuasive Communion see their long-awaited request fulfilled. In addition, a third level of rooms is in the final stages of construction and will welcome newcomers with open arms. This new level will be a true oasis of comfort and sophistication. They will enjoy the comfort of their new name, the Lens of the Rock. Fueled by a sense of renewed strength, the community makes the decision to name a new melee squad called the Ordered Pulleys, made up of the 10 most thirsty for revenge. Little by little, they equip themselves as the Forge works tirelessly to meet the demands of their new uniform. As they prepare, the goblins launch another assault on the fortress, but this time they are few in number. The dwarven army will position itself in the corridor to face them. Tobul, a brave soldier with his silver hammer, bravely steps forward to protect the two guard dogs at the entrance while his companions take up position. Without any difficulties, Tobul defeats the first two goblins that were trying to enter the ramp. He then reunites with his companions, ready to once again charge the small goblin horde who are easily wiped out by the dwarves. That they received such a minor attack makes the dwarves think that the goblins of the Horror of Guilt are weaker than ever. Encouraged by the news, the dwarves begin preparing a new offensive, building on the momentum generated by the new recruits. In the quiet library of the fortress, two soldiers plunge into the tomes, devouring knowledge. With their beards resting on the books and their eyes scrutinizing the pages, they absorbed every word with respect. Meanwhile, on the other side of the wall, in the bustling tavern, a group of drunken dwarves were losing control, their uproarious laughter filling the air as some vomited uncontrollably, leaving a messy trail on the tavern floor. The contrast between the serene search for wisdom and the festive chaos of the tavern was evident, reflecting the diversity of choices on how to spend the eve of the new offensive. Thanks for watching the chapter. See you in the next one. Bye.